Donald Trump is facing a full-scale crisis. International tensions are escalating. The U.S. economy is on the verge of stagflation, and even his own administration is in chaos, with global allies pushing back and legal troubles mounting. Trump's leadership is being tested like never before. China is not backing down. The Chinese government has officially increased its defense budget by 7.2%, a clear indication that it is preparing for a long-term confrontation. Beijing has made it clear. If Trump continues to pressure China, they are ready to fight to the end. Meanwhile, Canada is taking an aggressive stance. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has refused to lift retaliatory tariffs, stating that Canada will not bow to Trump's economic pressure. U.S. Canada trade relations, once strong, are now at their most fragile point in years. Greenland, too, has made its position crystal clear. After Trump hinted at reviving his 2019 annexation attempt, Greenland's leadership shut it down immediately. Their response: "We are not for sale. No one can force us into anything." This is not just rejection. It's a humiliating failure for Trump's geopolitical ambitions. As tensions escalate on the global stage, the American economy is entering dangerous territory. Experts are now warning that the U.S. is on the verge of stagflation, a nightmare scenario of high inflation and economic stagnation. Gas prices are skyrocketing. Food costs are out of control, and the housing market is becoming unattainable for millions. The situation has become so dire that major news outlets are advising Americans to raise their own chickens to secure a steady supply of eggs. This is not normal. This is not just inflation. This is a sign that Americans are losing faith in the government's ability to stabilize the economy. And yet, Trump has offered no concrete solutions. With millions of Americans struggling to afford basic necessities, what does Trump do? Instead of presenting a recovery plan, Trump is flooding his supporters with emails urging them to buy hats. Yes, hats. His latest campaign pitch. Trump was right. While ordinary Americans are watching their savings disappear, Trump is focused on selling merchandise. This is not leadership. It's a distraction, and for many, it's a sign that Trump is prioritizing his own interests over the needs of the country. As if the economic and political turmoil weren't enough, Trump has just suffered a massive legal defeat. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that Trump's administration must pay $2 billion in delayed foreign aid funds that Trump attempted to withhold for political leverage. The shocking part: Justice Amy Coney Barrett, one of Trump's own appointees, voted against him. This ruling marks a major blow to Trump's authority. It proves that even the people he put in power are no longer willing to blindly protect him. More importantly, it exposes his repeated attempts to manipulate U.S. foreign policy for personal and political gain. Internally, Trump's government is in total chaos. Despite his nonstop attacks on corrupt Washington elites, Trump and his Republican allies have failed to pass a new budget. Instead, the government is still relying on a budget passed under Nancy Pelosi. If Trump truly had a plan for America, why hasn't he passed a new budget? And if Biden's policies were so disastrous, why is Trump still using them? This is not a sign of strong leadership. It is a sign of failure. This is not just about one bad policy or one bad decision. This is a full-scale crisis. International leaders are rejecting his agenda. The economy is on the verge of collapse. The Supreme Court is stripping away his legal protections. His own administration is failing to function. And what is Trump doing? Selling hats at a time when America is desperate for leadership. Trump is choosing self-promotion over real solutions. This country has become bloated, fat, and disgusting, and it is being incompetently run. Trump's opening remarks were not only surprising, but also raised concerns about his focus as president. Immediately after, Trump fixated on egg prices, claiming they had skyrocketed since he left office. However, according to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, the average price of a dozen grade A eggs in major U.S. cities was $4.95 in January 2025, up from $2.40 in August 2023. While the price increase is significant, it does not align with Trump's exaggerated portrayal. This raises a question. Is Trump genuinely concerned about the economy, or is he merely attempting to blame the previous administration while overlooking the fact that he is now the one in charge? One of the key moments in the meeting occurred when Trump was asked about consumer confidence, an essential metric reflecting economic conditions. Trump claimed that after the election, American confidence had skyrocketed to the highest level in history. However, according to the conference board, the Consumer Confidence Index dropped by 7.0 points in February 2025, reaching 98.3, the largest decline since August 2021. Economists attributed this drop to rising inflation fears and looming recession concerns. Shortly after, another unexpected turn occurred when Trump abruptly handed control of the meeting over to Elon Musk. Musk disclosed that they had accidentally cut funding for Ebola prevention, a mistake amounting to $3.2 billion. He assured the public that they had swiftly corrected the issue after facing public backlash. Meanwhile, Trump and Musk boasted about cutting $55 billion in government spending. However, according to NPR, the actual amount cut was only $2 billion. Even more concerning, Trump's new budget plan is expected to add $19 trillion to the national debt over the next decade, while granting $4.5 trillion in tax cuts to the ultra-wealthy. Trump did not stop there. He went on to shock the nation with an unprecedented proposal, selling golden immigration cards for $5 million per person. According to Trump, if the U.S. sells 10 million of these cards, it could generate $50 trillion in revenue, supposedly paying off the national debt. However, economic experts immediately debunked this figure. Data from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, shows that the U.S. grants an average of 1.1 million green cards per year. To reach Trump's target of 10 million, the U.S. would need to increase immigration by nearly 900%, an impossible feat. Additionally, this plan would allow billionaires, including Russian oligarchs, to buy U.S. citizenship, creating major risks for money laundering and financial manipulation on a global scale. One of the most controversial moments of the meeting came when Trump was asked whether his administration would cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. At first, Trump firmly declared, "No." Previously, Trump and Musk had claimed that 150-year-olds were receiving benefits. Now the number had mysteriously increased to 200. However, according to a report from the Social Security Administration, SSA, there is no record of any Social Security recipients over the age of 115. Additionally, fraud accounts for less than 0.01% of total Social Security spending. More importantly, critics warn that whenever politicians push for fraud reduction in social programs, their real agenda is cutting essential benefits, a strategy the Trump administration previously attempted in his first term. Does this signal that Trump is once again preparing to slash key social safety net programs? Canada's surprising shift and Italy gradually replacing the U.S. in trade are now also key topics. Canada and Italy, two countries separated by thousands of kilometers, are growing closer than ever. As Canada's trade relationship with the U.S. faces increasing challenges, Italy has unexpectedly emerged as a key partner, filling the gap left by the United States. The U.S. has long been Canada's largest trading partner, but recent tariff policies have changed the landscape. As the U.S. imposed higher tariffs on Canadian imports, Ottawa was forced to explore alternative options to protect its economy. So why Italy? Italy is not Canada's largest trading partner, but it holds a crucial advantage. The European Union (EU), in conjunction with Canada's Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement (CETA), has significantly reduced tariffs on many Italian products, creating a major competitive edge. This means that while U.S. goods face increasing tariffs, Italian products have a clear path to expand market share in Canada. Moreover, Italy specializes in industries that align with Canada's growing demands, such as food, renewable energy, and advanced technology. Italy not only offers high-quality products, but also has a flexible trade system that meets Canada's evolving needs. Given all these factors, Canada is strategically adjusting its trade approach, strengthening ties with Italy to reduce its dependence on the U.S. Strong trade cooperation between Italy and Canada is becoming increasingly significant, expanding beyond trade into deep partnerships in various key sectors. In technology and manufacturing, both nations have high-tech development strategies aimed at boosting production capacity in the electric vehicle and battery sectors. They are collaborating on research to reduce reliance on the U.S. and China. In renewable energy, both countries have strong clean energy policies. Italy is a global leader in solar, wind, and hydrogen energy, while Canada holds vast natural resources. In cybersecurity and defense, joint initiatives are underway to strengthen information security and counter cyber attacks. And in sustainable economic development, Canada and Italy are working together to drive sustainability initiatives beyond traditional economic sectors. Trump's policies have caused millions of Americans to pay the price. Unemployment in the U.S. has slightly risen to 4% in 2023, while gas prices surged nearly 17% and food costs have risen by 12%. Voters have lost jobs, benefits, and essential support, all because of promises unkempt. Millions of Americans place their trust in Donald Trump, hoping for lower taxes, a stronger economy, and more jobs. But what happened in reality? A study shows that in February 2025, the unemployment rate in the U.S. rose to 4.0%, up from 3.5% in 2020. Meanwhile, Trump's budget cuts and economic decisions have led to massive layoffs, leaving thousands of workers struggling to survive. The disappointment is most clear among those who voted for Trump in 2016 and 2020. Take, for example, a man from Nashville, Tennessee, a former factory worker who lost his job after government cuts forced his company to shut down. He voted for Trump twice, but now he feels betrayed. And he's not alone. According to a recent poll, over 35% of voters who supported Trump in the last election are now rethinking their support. This story is not unique across red states. Where Trump once held up to 70% support, many are now questioning his policies. A new survey shows Trump's approval rate in rural areas has dropped by 12% in the past 2 years. Why? Because many feel his policies have failed to help them and, in some cases, have made things worse. Before these voters hoped for change, now they're facing harsh realities. Surveys show that over 30% of Trump supporters feel disappointed because the economy isn't developing as expected. Trump promised a better job market, but instead, his policies have widened the wealth gap, increasing inequality in society. So the question is, can Trump still deliver on his promises, or will more of his supporters realize that his economic policies have left him behind? But that's not all. Trump's political decisions, along with tech mogul interventions, have thrown the economy into turmoil. Ready to see the numbers? Let's take a look at these telling statistics. Over the past year, gas prices have risen by 17.7%, eggs by 23%, sugar by 16%, and dairy products like milk have gone up by almost 12%. If you think this is just a minor issue, you're wrong. These are the real numbers that Americans face daily. And if we look at the stock market, the Dow Jones Index has fallen by 9% in the last 6 months, a concerning figure for anyone investing or saving for the future. If you're a farmer in the Midwest, you'll understand even better. Trade wars, especially with China, have drastically lowered crop prices. Thousands of farmers are facing irreparable losses. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, soybean prices dropped by nearly 7% over the past year, while corn prices dropped by 5%. These policies are not only hurting farmers, but also weakening the economies of areas that depend on agriculture. These numbers are real, and we cannot ignore them. Americans are facing significant changes and negative impact from these policies. But not all hope is lost. People are rising up, participating in protests, and engaging in discussions to bring about change. It's time for all of us to speak out and protect our rights. Canada is at a major crossroads in international relations. Will this neighboring country to the U.S. really break away and seek a new path, especially with Europe recently? A Canadian MP strongly criticized the policies of the Trump administration, making many wonder if Canada is building a stronger economic and defense alliance with European nations instead of continuing to rely on the U.S. Stay tuned to discover the big changes unfolding right now. Is Canada ready to break away from the U.S.? A new relationship is forming. The relationship between the U.S. and Canada has long been considered solid, but in the current context, especially after controversial remarks from Trump, Canada is beginning to question its dependence on the U.S. U.S. policies and actions, such as a lack of respect for democratic values and human rights, have led many to feel that Canada needs to find a new partner with shared values and vision. This opens the door for Canada to explore new relationships, not just in politics, but also in economics and security. Instead of continuing to rely on the U.S., Canada is proactively building strategic alliances with Europe. Europe, with its strong economies and shared democratic values, is becoming an ideal partner for Canada at this time. This alliance not only helps Canada expand its markets, but also enhances the country's position in a multipolar world. It could allow Canada to engage more deeply in global initiatives while protecting values that are important to Canada, from freedom to environmental protection. The alliance with Europe also provides significant security benefits, helping Canada reduce its dependence on the U.S. and increase its global influence. With its stable NATO defense system, Europe could be a strategic partner to help Canada address global threats, especially from powers like Russia. This cooperation not only ensures security and stability, but also creates major opportunities in key industries like technology and renewable energy, helping Canada become a center of innovation and sustainable development in the future. The boycott movement in Canada leads a global shift. It's not just about diplomatic relations. Canadians are beginning to take action with very practical decisions. A growing boycott of U.S. goods is developing, especially as U.S. companies continue to support controversial policies from Trump. This boycott could become a major challenge for U.S. companies as they face backlash from Canadian consumers, who have long been accustomed to choosing international products over brands that don't align with democratic values and human rights. This serves as a wake-up call for businesses to pay more attention to their social responsibility when participating in the global market. For U.S. businesses, this is not just a social reaction, but a real trade crisis. The decline in revenue and loss of market share could severely impact companies that fail to recognize the shift in consumer behavior. These companies will face strong competition from businesses in other countries, especially those in Europe, which are increasingly asserting their role in the global economy. With this boycott, Canada is sending a clear message in support of democratic values and human rights. This not only changes how consumers choose products, but also puts significant pressure on U.S. companies, forcing them to reevaluate their business strategies and international relationships. How long will the effects of this boycott last? A significant shift in consumer habits could create a domino effect globally. This signals that not only Canada, but other countries will start reconsidering their trade and political relationships with the U.S., especially in a world moving toward a multipolar system where solidarity and cooperation between democratic nations are essential to protect global peace and prosperity. As these nations strengthen their alliances based on shared values, the global trade and political landscape will likely change, pushing forward a new era of cooperation.